Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Zulu's Painting Show. Today, we're going to be diving into layering with a different... Let me check my cheat sheet, because I always forget. Hue! There we go. I know what I'm doing. With a different hue versus a different tint. So, you might be asking, what's the difference between a tint and a hue? That's a wonderful question. I'm here to educate, I guess. Oh goodness, hue is different colors. So red, green, blue, those are all different hues. Tints are lightness of those colors. So a light green, a light blue, those are different tints of the hue, green and blue. You know what, let's go ahead and hop down to the camera and we'll show you what I mean. Sorry. By camera, I mean my painting setup. So let's go ahead and we'll use this guy as our example. This was the model we painted last week. On his body, he's got a couple different hues. That green and then the purple obviously are the different hues. And then within the purple, you can see there are different tints of the purple, going from sort of dark down at the bottom up to lighter up at the top. And I did this, I would love to say I did it intentionally, but I figure I shouldn't lie to you. What we ended up doing is we've done essentially a study of layering, and this guy, I have to sort of do that to be able to see the difference. But as you can see, this one here, without any color or hue, we've managed to do some layering there. And then with this guy, we're playing around with our tint, but with the same hue. And then with these guys, we actually go so far as to use a whole different hue to create that layering effect. So the very light color on there is actually a tan, and then his base color is green. So we got going over that. Also, I figured this would be a great time to talk a little bit about kind of color placement. So this guy, I had already sort of picked which panels were going to be purple, which panels were going to be metallic, and so we just dove into playing around with the colors. This guy, as you can see, which is our subject today, this is the Phoenix Hawk. It is from I believe, the Command Lance. I wrote this in the description and then promptly forgot everything I was saying. Sorry. Battle Lance. So this is the Phoenix Hawk from the Battle Lance. So we're going to be going over sort of where is going to get yellow on here, where it's going to get that black color, and then we'll dive into doing the layering on this guy using that tan as opposed to a lighter color green for the shading on this. So as always, I got my trusty wet palette here. Well, not as always. So recently, my trusty wet palette here, I've included a link to that because these guys make painting so much easier. Alright. So... Oh, you'll notice, this is not how the model comes. The model comes sort of naked and plastic. What I've done so far is Army Painter has a green spray-on primer. So I hit this whole thing with that green spray-on primer, and then I hit it with a Beltan green wash, which I hit it back here to make sure I can show you guys. So this is that Beltan green. So it's just, we started with a nice even coat. I've found that I like to sort of start with a good base layer done, and then I can dive into my different colors. I've been playing around with zenithal priming, as you saw on this guy. These guys start with the base color and then a wash on them. You can kind of go from there. It really helps bring out the details, like those leg panels are really easy to see. Now, if you'll notice, his two little exhaust ports he has here, well, they're not little, they're size-wise comparatively quite large. Those exhaust ports I didn't bother to wash. That's because I already knew that these were going to be metal as we're doing it. So I figured let's go ahead and let's not take the time to wash something that's gonna be metal. Now I gotta adjust the old focus. Perfect. I gotta put my armrest. Oh, I wasn't prepared. Let's go and dive right in. We're gonna go ahead and start with our regiment brush. Also, I've discovered I can now show you things that are white just by covering my light, which is very exciting. We're going to start with the Regiment brush. We're going to go ahead and also start with our yellow here, just to get those colors blocked out, figure out where I want to go with them. We're doing the Averland Sunset, which is a Citadel paint, but essentially it's just a dark yellow. So if you have a different dark yellow, if you're using, say, your demonic yellow, that would also be perfectly acceptable. Again, I had sort of pre-done color schemes for these models. Oh, I am peaking bad. Sorry, let me go ahead and just adjust those a little bit so I don't blow out your speakers. The key is to always remember to look at your monitor while you're working. Always shake your paints vigorously. And then with these Citadel pots, it's always a pain to get them out, so I like to grab... This brush is just a little easier to just grab the paint out of the pot. I do like the Citadel base colors because they do have a lot of pigment in them, so it makes covering that green, the new color, a little bit easier. I just gotta remember to wash the brush, even if it is the back of it. Alrighty. Brush. Load my brush with some yellow, and then let's just dive right into it. So, the original inspiration for this design was a World War II. So it was this guy, and it had because I saw those verticals and it looked like a World War II bomber. So I was like, oh, that'd be fun. Let's do sort of a fun colored bomber, kind of an army look to him. So this guy, we're gonna do kind of a similar thing here. We've got these big shoulder pads. We're gonna do those yellow. I was eyeballing this here too, because we've got the yellow on this guy's weapons, which was sort of what inspired putting the yellow on the weapons of our urban mech here. So we're going to go ahead and do kind of a similar thing. We've got these big flat panels here. I'm going to do those in the yellow as well. We're going to do the shoulders in yellow. And then we might do... I think we're going to go and... So that's the thing. We're gonna come back to these I guess pylons. I don't know what you call those exactly, but we'll come back to those. For right now, let's go ahead and just get started on those shoulders. Let's get some color in them, and then we'll keep on going. Oh, I'm bouncing my head off my light. Come on, light. Where am I here? All right, there we go. All right, good position. And now it's I talked too long, and now my paint's gotten dry on my brush. Oh, sorry about that. Very delightfully mustardy color here. Just diving right in. And for these panels, much like the white on the other one, we're going to do several layers to really try to flatten it out, make it even and nice. So we're going to go ahead and just dive in. Now, I like that it has this little stripe in here. We're going to make that black once we get the colors, once we get the yellow in, and come back and hit that with the black. But first we got the yellow. And the yellow, much like the white, has that same sort of problem of you really want to make sure you get those nice even coats, and you need to let it dry before you go trying to put a second coat on, because otherwise you'll just push the paint around. Oh, we're already adding that nice little splash. What's kind of fun, the difference between this guy versus the Grendel? I always want to make sure I call it the right one, because there's another word that sounds very similar that is not maybe appropriate for the stream. Anyway, so with that one, it's a much more sort of even spread of the colors. Ooh, that yellow is already starting to blow out the camera. Sorry about that. Whereas I like with this one focusing mostly on the green and letting the yellow be much more of an accent. So the difficulty I run into with this is trying to decide which panels to yellow and which ones to leave not yellow. The other thing to remember, especially for things like this, is there is a three-dimensionality to these armor panels. Ugh, some hard to read spots in there. So you gotta remember to get the sides, your full coverage. So I'm getting that shoulder started. Gotta make sure I'm not blowing out the camera. Did it get lighter? I think it did. Here, give me a sec. Sorry. No, that's about right. It's just the yellow gets a little too bright. That better? Sorry, everybody. Okay, that'll work. Perfect. All right, let's dive back into it. Just go ahead and clean out the brush. No reason to let it get gummed up with old paint. I'm sure paint isn't cheap, but it's a lot cheaper to do it right the first time than to have to go back over it several times. And remember, your palette is a great way to sort of test what kind of sorry, how much paint you have on your model. Ooh, interesting. So this here is what's called shift. Generally, molds for making models are two halves that can be split open that will be filled with your plastic or resin or whatever material you're working with. On occasion, they will get a little hot or the pressure won't be right or whatever, and when it does that, the two halves will shift slightly, and then you'll get your things will not line up exactly. For the most part, it's not really a problem, but you know, sometimes it can cause you some troubles. Well-designed models will make those areas of connection, sort of hide those within the design of the model. So let the sort of natural contour, well, not natural, let the contours of the model be, and use those to kind of hide those movements, or the, I guess, hide those connecting points. I mean, all in all, though, I think these models are very, very well designed. They have a very good look to them. I actually really enjoy painting these guys because they have so many very sort of interesting to look at panels. Like, it's very simple to just you know, you've got all these little squares. You can make a lot of really interesting things. Like these shoulder plates can be painted this color. They can be painted a different color. You could decide that, like, on this chest piece, you want to get some of the different bits there. There's a lot of fun stuff with the sort of paneling of these guys. Oh my goodness, I got something shifting over here every time I touch the table. No, it's just gonna keep doing it? Alright. As long as you guys can't hear it, it should be fine. So, especially when you've got a color like yellow, making sure you do enough sort of thin coats to really make sure that you don't have your undercoat or your undertone coming through is really helpful. So, and just like doing the white, you know, just being patient, being willing to go over it a couple times with several thin coats is really the important detail. Now, what's going to be very fun is I've got that little stripe there in the middle of this arm. Going through that with black is going to be nerve-wracking, because if I get it, like if it misses by a little bit, I'm then going to have to clean up the yellow, which does not cover well. But that's okay. We'll be very careful. We'll be very, very controlled. Speaking of careful and controlled, when you have sort of these 90-degree angles coming in like this, it's really easy to get up onto the other plate, like the other part. So being sure to kind of take your time and make sure you're not getting paint where you don't want it is important. And I think remembering that your brush is going to flatten out a little bit as you if you press it onto a surface is, I think, very helpful for that. And we'll clean that brush back out again because it's getting a little gummy. Oh, I didn't include the links to these two boxes in the description today. But if you go to zulusgames.com, we have the Game of Armor Combat and Clan Invasion and the beginner box. So if you want this Griffin, you can get that from the beginner box. Also, now this is the Kickstarter art. We have just the regular retail art for those. So there's that. I actually I don't know why I had originally kept these boxes. I think honestly, it's just really pretty art. They're just really good looking art. And as it turns out, they make for a beautiful backdrop. So that's kind of nice. Although I do have some room on the edges that I could put some other stuff down. So I might, next time we do a BattleTech painting, I'll probably grab the third one to really clean it up. Speaking of which, I think next week I'm going to go back to doing some fantasy models. I've been noticing that these videos have been pretty popular, so I've been doing them. Plus, I realized that I kind of had like we went over the basics of the layering with the rifleman, and then we kind of dove into to kind of more complicated layering with the Grendel, and now we're playing around with slightly different styles of layering with this Phoenix Hawk, which is a lot of fun. One of the things I'm calling all these mechs by their names. One of the things I find very fascinating about BattleTech is because there are so many different sort of so many different arts, so many different sculpts of each of the mechs. It's sometimes hard to tell which one's which. I've definitely a couple times had model mechs where I looked at it and I was like, what in the world is this? Oh, that's a Phoenix Hawk. What? But this is a Phoenix Hawk. Yes, that is. But then that one's also a Phoenix Hawk. So. And then, of course, there's also the fun thing of Robotech and Macross and all that good stuff, and some of the delightful legal battles of looks that way. Oh, we're making a mess. That's okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's perfectly fine. It's kind of a very specific thing to these guys. Now, you know what I could do? No, I like the symmetry. I was thinking I could do like the black on this panel or a different color on this panel, but I think ultimately I like the symmetry of it. Yeah, I'm liking that though. I like the just the little bit of color, and so that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to do this for this guy is this yellow is really dark. Not dark, but really. Oh no, it's too dark. Is that better? That looks better. The process of like deciding what gets what. Oh, I missed. That's okay. It's gonna be metal in a bit anyway. You know what? We're going to the edges. It's starting to drive me nuts. It looks better this way anyway. Sorry. Detailed stuff, hard to talk and also do. tight details. So process of deciding what colors are where is, I think, a lot of fun, and it's really helpful to have sort of a pre-designed color scheme. But if you're going into it knowing like I want green and yellow, but I don't know where I want my green and I don't know where I want my yellow, it's fine. I would say it's easier to add extra paint than it is to remove it. So I would say, less is more to begin with. Start with a couple spots, see how you like it, and then go from there. And ultimately, there isn't a right or wrong answer for how much of any one color you have. I mean, again, unless you're going from a specific color scheme, in which case you don't have to worry about the where you put your colors. But even then, like the Grendel is a great example of, I had a specific color scheme I was kind of going off. I had some reference art, but at the same time, it's also very much just a, when does, because it's not going to be the same mech for the most part. When does it feel right? And that is unfortunately something you just got to kind of do. and that's, I think, the really the conclusion it comes to when you're painting minis is just you got to paint more, And don't worry if you get to the end of a lance or a group of people and you look back and think to yourself, "Wow, that first one, just what happened to him?" Because for the most part, when they're sitting on the table, the difference in quality won't really be as apparent. Because it's the thing I always have to remind myself, like, I'm not going to be playing with this guy this close to the camera, like my vision. Like, he's going to be sitting, 2 to 3 feet away from my face at any given time. So I got to remember that he's going to look a little different. And that's true for both, like, thinking to myself, oof, the detail there, well, messy. But then also the fact that, like, you got to make sure that the colors and things read when they're on the table. I have an awesome that I had a lot of fun painting. Big purple shoulders, a nice sort of, I guess it'd be brass? No. Like a deep coppery look to it. But when it's on the table, it all looks the same color. So I need to go back through and add a little bit more sort of very bright purple highlights to really sell the difference in color. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good. We've got those. Oh no, I can still see some green through here. And the yellow is the focus today, but I wanted to kind of go over it just a little bit, just to, just kind of talk about how you pick which colors are going to go where and that sort of thing. I'm also thinking I liked how the Urban Mech ended up with that sort of very bright V in the center of him. I don't really have that with the Griffin, and I'm okay with that. Each of these mechs are going to be slightly different in their design. But I've been eyeballing here. There's this panel in the center of his chest. It's very separate from the rest. It has a good color. Now that I'm looking at it, though, because again, you're going to be mostly seeing the mech from this angle. So from this angle, that panel almost entirely disappears. So what I'm going to do instead is these two panels up top. They have a little bit less of a defined line on them, but I think I'm going to see it more, which I think I will. Although the little V on his hips, it's a little bit more subtle. Let's do the bottom panel. Why not? It'll be a nice splash of color in a spot that's a little harder to see, so it'll really pop out a little bit more. Oh, I gotta clean this brush. I've noticed that sometimes I'll get little sort of like polyps of paint that will kind of build up at the very tip of my brush that will do very annoying things. So I'm just gonna make sure that I don't have that happen. There we go. Nice clean brush. And this way I'm always making sure that I'm not getting paint too deep into my bristles. I gotta make sure my head's not in my light. Ooh. Nice, hard to read spots. I think this here is a great example of picking a thing to paint because of the ease at which you will be able to paint it. So the top sort of torso bits here, they don't have the same sort of defined line that this guy does. This guy has much sharper lines, so it's much easier to make sure I'm not getting onto other panels. Oh, there we go. So that's I like that. We're mostly focusing on the green, but we've got a couple splashes of color here and there. I'm thinking that ultimately these two little spots on the back, we're gonna do black. And then do this stripe and that stripe will do. You know what, let's go ahead and just dive into it. I want to transition into doing our goodness, my brain turned off for a minute. Our layering with enough time to actually go over it. I think we got enough time to get some of the black in there. And I'll probably, as we go through, add a couple more colors here and there, but kind of get started. We're going to go ahead and go to our matte black. Do a little dollop, because the black is much more of just a small bit of accent. I don't know if we've gone over this yet, but black and I have a hard time layering black because you can't just go through, hit it with a wash, and then layer it up, because a wash will do nothing because it's black. One of the techniques that I've seen and I think I need to work on more is actually starting with a dark gray, and then darkening down from the dark gray to the black. Oh goodness, this is such a tiny stripe. Please be my friend. Oh, there we go. I don't think I would have tried that stripe if it was just out by itself. Nor was it like if it was part of the other thing, but the fact that it's upraised and has those really big edges on the side. Same with this guy here. Oh no. Alright. I wish we had a good angle so you guys can see as I smudge this all over the yellow. Oh, it's not perfect, but it'll have to do. Okay. Okay. Oh, where's my focus point? Oh, it's over here. Oh, I was too close for that one. Sorry. We'll try it again here. Oh, and this is the this is the one that has the shift on it, so that'll be interesting. Now is when having this very thin brush is helpful, because I can really just drag the width of it along it instead of trying to just use the point. Okay. We'll go back through with our yellow and clean that up a little bit, but for now, sorry. It's so hard to talk when I'm concentrating on getting colors. Little spots. Alright, alright. I'm getting somewhere. I'm liking it. And again, this is when bracing yourself on the model makes your hand that much steadier. Also, got to remember that there's two sides to the neck. Get in here. I think the shoulder thing is blocking my shot. Oof. Get those little stripes in there. Oh, okay. Whew, alright. So we got those ones. Now I want to do the little top jobbers on the pylons. Again, just add a little splash of color. Well, yeah, a little splash of color, just to keep with the visual interest. Keep putting my head in the light. There we go. If you, yeah. Concentrating on the paint. Remember, gotta have you guys see it. So, if you are wondering, because I mentioned a couple times these two mechs here in the background, if you go to Facebook, you can watch the videos of me painting those ones, so you can see more of the conceptual stuff. Although I have been discovering that purple and my camera are not good friends. So the purple showing up properly with its sort of different tints is an interesting thing. You also get to watch. I went too light on the purple the first time with the Grendel, so I have to sort of I have to backtrack from that and play around. You know, it's good to remember that sometimes it doesn't work out exactly how you want it to, and that's okay. You can fix it. There we go. Another thing that's kind of interesting is despite the fact that black is a very dark color and is very good at covering, is it does sometimes need a couple layers. You can, well, and you probably should put thin layers. I mean, you definitely should put thin layers of all your colors in, but black can definitely be one of those ones that can be a little deceptive. I'm also having the trouble of I'm getting a lot of reflections of the black. But it looks just very bright. Sorry. Don't bump the camera. So you guys' portal into this. All right, there we go. We've got the black on there. We've got yellow on a couple spots. Now, and there's going to be some metal on here that I will do afterwards. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and dive into. Oops, sorry. Go ahead and dive into the green. Sorry, the shading, the layering. So for that, we will need our new paints. I'm gonna go back to my regiment brush for this because I don't want to get, because I'm going to be covering larger spots. I don't want to get too sort of fine detail on it. For our first color, and you can see it a lot more when it's oh goodness, when it's not on the model yet. But one of the things we're doing is we're letting the same trouble that we were having with the yellow where the green was showing through is actually what we want with our next layer. So let's go ahead and grab this. Is I hate pronouncing this new name. Oopshabti? Sure. It's a thing from was it Warhammer Fantasy? Back when it's still called Warhammer Fantasy? Alright, don't forget to shake your paints vigorously. Make sure you get it all pushed out. I think I kind of want to play around with these pylons. Have a lot of really good panels on them, so I think that'll be a fun one to play around with. I end up doing legs a lot of times because they have very nicely defined panels. It makes it a little easier for me to pick like what things, because like look at those big old panels. All right, get our color out onto the palette. I'll go ahead and grab a bit more. Gonna be doing a bit. I haven't looked to see yet if we have the different colors, the different paints on the website. I don't believe we do, but if that's something you guys would like to be able to purchase, go ahead and swing me a comment here, and I can look into getting those online. All right. Oh, sorry. There was a comment about Harmony Gold, and it took me far too long to figure out what I'm referring to. Harmony Gold was the one originally that was licensing, I believe. They were licensing the Robotech show. There's a lot of weird things that go along with it, but they were the one licensing the Robotech show, which was based off 3 animes from Japan, including one of them was Macross. I forget what the other 2 were. But then FASA thought that they had the rights to be able to make a game based on the mechs, but then Harmony Gold said no, no, no. It was a whole thing. Again, my understanding of it is sort of vague at best. All right, so much in the same way that we're doing the panels on the Grendel, we're going to go ahead and hop into these, and we're really trying to the high points, the tops of things. We're gonna make lighter, and then the things that are deeper and in the recesses we're gonna make darker. So this is gonna be really simple for these here because this is the very top point. So we're just gonna go ahead and put some of our Ubshabti, which let me just call it. We're just gonna call it what it is. We'll call it tan. Some of our tan khaki on this guy. And again, those thin layers, or the fact that the color sort of shows through is going to be our friend here. And at first, the line between the 2 is going to be very stark. Tony would be proud, but we'll come back through and we'll blend that a little bit. Don't you worry about that none. Also, I am sorry for the Tony Stark joke. I don't know why I have to make those terrible jokes, but I do. I might, for as small as these panels are, I might go back to our character brush. Yeah, you know what? I think this is going to be easier with a character brush. Yeah, and as you can see, yeah, very stark line between the 2 colors. But we're gonna be coming back in with our. We've got this here Warboss green. I'm gonna come in through that, and that'll be kind of what connects the 2. They are connective tissue. Is this? Yeah, I'm focused there. Okay. Actually, Toy Galaxy on YouTube has a great 4-part video about BattleTech. Not sorry, BattleTech. Robotech, and BattleTech is mentioned in it. And that's how I know what I know about it now. So I would definitely recommend giving that a go if you are interested in knowing the intricacies of why Harmony Gold and BattleTech are hanging out together, what unseen models are, or designs are, rather. Actually, the other day, I was just looking through Iron Wind minis, and they had the Iron Wind Marauder is a fascinating mech to look at. All right. Yeah, and we're just doing the top panels and remembering that like your light source is coming down, so you're gonna kind of be all the top parts are gonna have that light color. And again, right now it's really, the line is really sharp. We're gonna be blending that out. Don't you worry, none. And also got to remember to not get into our different sort of recesses of the panel. So this line, we want to keep that nice and sharp. Oh, we got these little guys. Oh goodness. Oh, I got my yellow. No, that's okay. We managed to catch it. Oh, we've made a mess. That's okay. I'm not keen on those little flanges there. They're a little bit smaller than I'd like, and I've made a mess of them. But we'll clean them back up. Don't you fret. I like the narrative I've created where you guys are watching me do this painting and thinking to yourself, what has he done? How is he gonna fix it? Like, you don't care. You're just tuning in to watch me slap some paint on some models. So one of the things that I end up finding myself doing on things like this is I will paint in the direction that I want things to be lighter. So I'm pushing up for each of these so that if there is a higher, like if I have more paint on the brush and the model, it'll go towards the top. Because again, I wanna make that shine. Make it look like there's shadow on this. And I like doing these I like doing this sort of layering on these because it really emphasizes each panel. You could definitely do this a lot faster if you didn't want to like pick out each individual panel, but I like that they're built like this. I really want to emphasize the details of it. And again, we're doing just thin coats because, you know, we wanna let that green show through our khaki. Khaki? Sure. And much like picking where to put the yellow versus the green, like a lot of it is sort of feel. You have to kind of just like what feels right. Also, I got to remember to sort of round or flatten these out on the bottom. If you leave your if you want to make the panels look rounded, leave the line between the two sort of rounded. And again, we're going to be trying to get rid of that line, but just to make my life easier, I'll try and flatten that out. All right. Yeah, I think we've gotten a good chunk in there. I think it's time to start grabbing our other colors. Oh, I keep bumping the... I'm sorry, guys. Gotta stop bumping the mic. I am glad that I ultimately switched back to the character brush, because the character brush made it a little easier to get those kind of hard to reach spots. Oh, I'll have to get between the shoulders there. I didn't yet, but well, eventually. Maybe not on camera, but it'll happen. So now I like this this green because it kind of feels like it's in the middle between the two colors. So the green here is a much more sort of vivid green, especially with that wash. When it comes out of the rattle can, it's a lot more sort of this color, but then the wash really makes it much more vivid. So, in many ways, this green is just kind of bringing it back to that mid-tone, and we're gonna go ahead and really get this guy really thinned down with some water. I don't want it to be too thick. Because again, we're letting the colors sort of blend. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're blending colors here. My knowledge of painting in general, I have learned from just giving it a go. So, for instance, the reason why I had to several times look up the difference between tint and hue is because I don't actually know the difference between tint and hue, with the exception of, like, you know, what I have told you today. I usually just call it the difference between, well, it's the color versus the how bright or dark it is. So now, with our mid color here, we're just going to be essentially trying to cover that line between the two colors. So wherever the two colors meet. Just trying to cover that up. And then the line looks a lot less sort of abrupt. And you want to bring your middle color kind of a little bit onto, obviously you want to cover the middle, but you want to get it a little bit onto the both of the colors so that you've essentially gone from having two colors next to each other to 5. And by that I mean you've got your top color, you've got, the khaki, you've got the khaki with the green over it, you've got the line where the khaki and the dark green mix, you then got the dark green and the light green covering each other, and then the dark green. So you're just blending those two colors together. Trying to bring them together. You ever I don't know how many of you guys did word art back in the day. If you wanted to make your school project look awesome, but in it there was one of the settings you could do was you'd make the awesome big letters and all that good stuff, and then you could make the gradient. You really play around with those and have fun with it. That's what we're doing here. We're doing word art gradients. Yeah. And like so many things, it's just a whole lot of kind of you're feeling it, you know? You gotta kind of play around with your different colors. And see what colors mix. And especially with this green, because you are doing that kind of transition, you really want to be able to see the colors coming out from underneath it. You know, you want to make sure that your green is nice and thinned. So for this panel here, because it is so high, it's so much more sort of pronounced and out away. I'm okay with the darkest color on here being our light color, because when you compare it to the darkness of the darkest color on this panel, the darkest color on this panel is much darker, implying that this sticks out farther, gets more light than this here, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then, you know, that's basically it. You know, you've got your three colors. You've got your base color. You've got your sort of edge highlight color, and then you've got your sort of mixing the two colors together. And you could do this with a variety of different color combos. If you wanted to change up how you did your purple, I don't know why I was going back to purple, but so you could do like a dark purple for your main color, a light blue for your top color, and then a mid color there. If you're playing around with turquoise or teal, yeah, you can play around with some teal, so you could have your base color be green, your top color be like a light blue, and then you can teal in between the two. And really play around with that. Yeah, and I thought this was kind of a fun color combination. I was trying to give it that kind of fatigues, like that kind of classic American military color scheme, like a World War II kind of color scheme. I think ultimately these colors hanging out together worked out really well. And again, the number of layers you do will sort of bring up the color. So in the middle of the two colors, I'm putting more coats, whereas as it goes into the khaki versus the green, I'm putting less coats, making sure that the center is really nice and green, whereas the transition is a little bit more subtle. And I think that's kind of ultimately what all of this comes to. All three different techniques of the techniques here use the concept of, if you want a color to be more of the, like, more of that color and not a combination of the color that's below it and itself, you just put more thin layers of that color on it. And sure, you can, if you wanted, put a thick layer on, but then you run into the issue of it's controlling thick layers is so much harder than doing thin layers. Actually, you know what I might do? So that's it on kind of smaller scales. I think I want to do leg. I don't know. I always do the leg panels, but I want to do some leg panels just to kind of show it at a larger scale. And I should have started with the larger scale, but I didn't, and that's okay. I also love when you first do this part. It's just like, my goodness, that that line between the two is so. It's just it's not appealing. I like my color transitions to be much smoother, because I think that's what we've come to expect from, real life. Generally, unless it's too. So I'm trying to create the illusion that this is all one color, but what I've done is I've made it look like it's two separate colors. By the end, we'll bring it in so that it feels like one solid color, and then this is just the lighter part of it, and this is just the darker part of it. Actually, a technique like this I've seen several times used to great effect with metallics, like the metal, the actual metal metallics. Um, so you'll have like your copper or gold, and then at the very highest points, like your highlights, you'll actually do that. Do your highlights with like a silver or a like a very shiny silver color, which is I really enjoy that look. I think it's a good looking one, and it's a similar technique. Yeah. So, and again, I've got my there's not as on this leg panel is not as much of the dark color, which I am okay with, because this leg panel is sitting out from the sort of under leg part. So I want it to be slightly lighter. Someone's calling me. Why are you calling me? Don't you know I'm painting? Sorry. Make sure this isn't important. Spam risk. This is not important. All right, sorry about that. Where was it? What was I talking about? Transitioning colors. Oh yeah. So because these leg panels sit out from the main sort of leg here, I'm okay with. I actually kind of like that they're kind of lighter than the under part of the metal, or of the panels. And I have put too much green on. My brown layer has gotten too thin. So let's fix it. So I don't like, for this one, how thin that tan layer is, and I actually managed to get the line to be a little bit. Now I have the line is too distinct between my the khaki and the green. So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna thin out my khaki, and then I'm going to go just along the line between the two with that thinned khaki. It was thinned a bit too much. Okay, maybe a little bit more khaki. Let's not go too crazy though. There we go. Ugh. So I'll be honest, sometimes thin paints and I do not get along. So, you just clean it off. I'll just kind of go back and forth until I'm a little bit more satisfied with the lines. Or rather, the lack thereof. Because ultimately, I don't want to be able to point at a specific spot on the model and be like, this is where I transition from this color to the next. I want it I want you to be able to look at it and say, is it tan? Is it green? Where's the line? Nice gradient is the ultimate goal. That's a little better. Still a little bit. It's a little bit of a, well, I think ultimately these jet pylons worked out pretty well. Yeah. And again, a lot of the six, I'm definitely not teaching y'all speed painting techniques. Like this is, well, I mean, yes and no. This type of layering definitely does sort of emphasize, you know, taking your time with each of the panels and kind of showing each of them some loving. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit more what I was looking for. There we go. Yeah. See, now you have a much harder time kind of seeing like where the transition is. Oh. Which is the point. Should have just left it. Anyway, so yeah. So that's your layering with a different hue here. Yeah, let's go back over a little bit because I didn't realize. Quite a lot of times that this happens to me. I didn't realize that I was using different techniques on these different models, but I think Battletech for me has been a delightful sort of practice in different painting styles and techniques. It's really allowed me to kind of explore different ways to paint, because each mech sort of gets to be its own hero, have its own sort of story behind it. All right, so this is painting with different hues, where we're actually creating a layering effect by, instead of going from a dark green to a light green, we're going from a dark green to a tan or a khaki, and then transitioning kind of in the middle layer. And again, you can use this on different colors and play around with the different techniques. This is layering with, oh, and I do really like how that rust turned out. Anyway, so the purple here is layering with different tints. So we've had the same hue or the same color for it, but we've just changed the tint to get that nice illusion of depth, to add some three-dimensionality to the part. And then that same technique is used here, where we're using the different tint, but without really a color, just that plain sort of white. And this one I really enjoy doing because it's so hard to see. The underside here, for instance, is just that. Oh gosh, yeah, I wasn't doing the whole thing with the white would make this easier, but anyway. Oh, there we go. Now we're gonna get it okay. But yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. Joining us. Either way. When we return next week, we're going to be going back to fantasy models, I believe. Unless this is what you guys want to watch, in which case I can go over more painting techniques with these Battletech minis. I suppose ultimately the goal is to show you guys different painting techniques, help you feel more confident in your painting. So if Battletechs are the minis that you prefer, then we'll keep painting these guys. But if you wanna try looking at some fantasy stuff, we've got a lot of different options there. Feel free to visit the website. We've got all the mechs you've seen here, the wet palette, the paints. Well, I mean, the paints. Certainly this starter set. Those are all on the website. You can order them and come and have them brought to you in your car if you live in this area, or you can have them mailed to you if you're looking for some stuff. If there's any other specific techniques you are looking to learn about, feel free to leave a comment. If there's any specific models you want to see get painted, also I would love for that. If you're looking to become a part of the community, if you go to zulusgames.com, there is a community tab. In there, there is a Discord. You can click on that guy, and that'll let you chat with the other BattleTech players in the area. Yeah, throw some pictures of your models up there. I'd love to see them. But until then, enjoy your painting, stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.